Welcome, Jordan here. Welcome to the first part of this emotional mastery series. What we're going to talk about today is emotional triggers. Emotional triggers are the gateways into our internal transformation, right? So let's dive into what are triggers, especially emotional triggers. This is anything that causes you to feel a sense of lack within yourself that brings you into a state of reactivity. So we're going to get into reactivity in another video, but for now, this is part of what it means to experience an emotional trigger. Now, let's look at a couple of examples of this. You are on social media, you are on Instagram, and you see somebody who is doing better than you or appears to be doing better than you. Maybe it's in business or maybe they have a new relationship. And for some reason, that brings up a sense of comparison within you. It brings up a sense of feeling that you are not enough or that feeling that you are jealous of this person. And you start to feel that within yourself. Emotional trigger. Another one would be an example inside a relationship where your partner or the person that you are dating does something that you don't like, and then now you feel reactive based on what they said or what they did, even though that may have been completely neutral from their side. You feel a sense of reactivity over it. So you try to control it, you try to fix it, you react as a byproduct of it. Another example of this, there's millions of examples, but there's another example in business, right? Let's say you are behind in your numbers and you are setting certain targets for yourself, and now you're talking to a friend who's also in business and they're doing better than you, and now you feel a sense of lack, like you need to work harder, you need to do more, you need to figure something out because this person's now doing better than you. Emotional trigger. We're not saying that these triggers are bad. These triggers are just gateways into what your soul, at a deeper level, past the mind, past the body, into here, the deepest aspect of you, is calling you into transform. To really understand emotional mastery, what we have to understand is that we are not just here to achieve things materially and then just die, and that's kind of the name of the game. My perspective on all of this is that it is much deeper. We've gone deep in some other videos throughout this channel, going into the soul's journey, but I'm going to recap a little bit of it here. And this is not just my opinion. This is based on ancient wisdom that has existed for thousands and thousands of years. It's this understanding that we are spiritual beings. We are here on a soul's journey. And that soul's journey, as part of that, is, yes, having these accomplishments along the way is a byproduct of the real internal journey of what this experience is, transforming our negativity into positivity. And these emotional triggers, these moments of reactivity, are the gateways into that transformation. It allows us to make a new choice. It allows us to become somebody new, to elevate in our vibrational frequency and our level of consciousness in that moment where we choose a new story, where we choose a new behavior. And don't get me wrong, it can be challenging, especially when you're in the moment. And this connects to deeper wounds within yourself that come from childhood, that have been developed throughout time. All of these things are gateways into transformation. So that's really what emotional triggers are. There's millions and millions of examples. So to keep it simple, let's think of it this way. An emotional trigger is anything that pulls you out of yourself and forces you into a state of being reactive. Now, these emotional triggers teach us so much about ourselves, which is why they are so powerful. Because when you can see past the illusion of what is happening around you that seems real, that seems very intense, that seems very emotionally driven or frustrating or makes you angry or resentful or whatever the case is, when you can see past that for a moment and catch it in the moment, you learn to master your emotions. Because your emotions are not here to just pull you in all these different directions. They're actually there to allow you to choose to transform. And they're just signals as to what's going on within. You can think of an emotion as energy, right? Humans are made up of 99% energy. Energy in motion, right? So energy in motion is something that is always moving. Energy is everywhere. It's all around us. We are part of that as well. So these emotions are just energy that's in motion. It's not something that is your identity. It's not who you are, right? So when we look at emotional mastery, what we're looking to do is transform in those moments of reactivity, which we'll get into. So these emotional triggers are the gateways into that. So what is the deeper reason behind these emotional triggers? Well, we talked a little bit about the soul's journey. The reason we are here is to dissolve these parts, these limiting beliefs, these limiting perspectives that we have formed throughout our life to dissolve those and transform them. So when we look at this through the lens of emotional mastery, in those moments of reactivity, in those moments of getting triggered by something, we can choose a new timeline for ourselves. We can choose a new direction to walk in that moment. So let's say somebody says something and what they said was just words, it was just neutral, but you heard it in a certain way where you felt like you were being attacked. And in that moment, all you want to do is get mad at that person. You want to react. And in that moment, you have the choice to master your emotions. In that moment, you have the choice to develop a deeper emotional IQ within yourself. So instead, you simply just can pause. You can observe what's happening within you right now and understanding that it's not your identity. It's not who you are. It's simply a signal that is being sent to you right now that you've actually chosen, right? Let's go a little bit deeper here. You've actually chosen to have this emotional trigger, this experience, because it is tied to the things that you are here to transform within. So let's look at how this has a knock-on effect, right? Let's say we experienced a lot of neglect growing up as a child. Maybe it was emotionally, maybe it was just lack of presence, whatever the case was. So therefore, there's maybe an underlying belief that we are not enough, or we are not safe to be loved, or whatever the case is. And then you get into a relationship with somebody and they mirror that same experience that you had. And you're like, what? I keep having these same experiences. I keep having, even if it's a relationship or it's a business partnership, I still feel this sense of like, this is familiar. That relationship, whatever it is just mirroring back what's already going on within so that you can experience the mirror, feel it again, and choose to transform it. It's all a growth opportunity. The most challenging part of all of this, though, at least this was for me and still is, because we get caught in those moments. I'm not saying it's easy. It's challenging. You got to make a new choice. It's not easy. It can be heavy, but it's catching it and it's understanding and it's zooming out in that moment and seeing the broader perspective that you actually came here to transform this. It's not here to just throw you off course. It's not your enemy. It's actually an amazing coach, if you think about it that way, right? What does an amazing coach do? Challenges you, right? Forces you to become more, to rise up in your levels of consciousness, to raise your standards for what you receive, to what you give, and to raise your baseline for what it means to be successful in whatever domain that you're in. So a great coach is going to put you through pain so that you transform. That's why you pay them. You don't pay them to be your buddy and to say, hey, everything's great, when it's not. You pay them to help you raise your standards, to call you out, and to help you transform. This is exactly what these triggers are here to do. They're the most amazing coach that is there with you all the time if you choose to listen to it, right? And there'll be many, many opportunities. You may not get it right first time. When I was starting to really understand this many, many years ago and starting to implement this into my life, there was many times where I just completely forgot about this in the moment. And I had to go back and just kind of like meditate on it and sit with it and see the broader perspective. And over time, I just got better of catching it in the moment and understanding what this is. That's the embodiment set of the identity shift. Because these little moments, right? We talk about the identity shift. We talk about becoming more of who you are and transforming to someone who's at an elevated frequency, an elevated level of consciousness, deeper levels of love, deeper levels of fulfillment and success. That's a daily choice, not just in the day, but in the moment. Because as you choose a new desire, as you say, I want to make this money, I want to attract this relationship, I want to have this amazing home, I want to have this amazing experience of life, you're going to be tested constantly in the moment to say, hey, have you actually changed? Are you waiting for the outside world to change before you change? I love to look at it this way, right? When you stand in front of a mirror, do you wait for the mirror to smile at you? No. You smile first and the mirror reflects that. This is the same thing. These emotional triggers are the gateways into your transformation because it's a choice for you to smile first. Then reality will just simply reflect that. And you'll stop getting the tests, you'll stop having the experiences over time once you continue to transform them. You just won't experience that reality anymore because you don't need to, because you've changed. But the hard part is when these things go really, really deep and it's a deep-rooted belief system and you've lived that way for your entire life, it can take some time. Let's be real here. It can take some time. That's okay. Because when you know what to focus on and you know that these things are little challenges and tests along the way, that's it. You can bring yourself into that moment and choose a new behavior. You can choose to be proactive, which we're going to get into in later lessons, over reactive. So all of these triggers, these things that make us feel a certain way, angry, resentful, reactive, we start to compare ourselves and we feel lack, feel a sense that we're not whole, that we're just like being controlled by the outside world. That is a choice that we have in that moment to transform, to choose a new timeline, a new story, a new destiny for ourselves, to simply just see through the illusion, not to suppress it and not feel it and not, understand what's going on, because some of these things can be very emotional. They can be very heavy. It could be a part of you that is feeling unloved, and then this person mirrors that back to you. I'm not saying to disregard that or ignore it or pretend it's not there and just, zap it away. Feel it. Sometimes we got to feel these things deeply. Something I like to do when I get these types of triggers is if I can feel it under the surface within me, I would go and I would take some time off. I wouldn't work. I wouldn't try to, work in those times. I would go off and I would meditate. I would take a walk. I would sit with that part of me that needs some care and attention, needs some love. And I would see the broader perspective. But yeah, it's heavy, especially when these things are ingrained from childhood. It's challenging. And I found this to be one of the most transformative pieces, because when you look at most psychology, it can be very logical. It's like in the mind, it's like, okay, this is what this person does if they're a narcissist, and this is what and it's like, it's all very logical. But the longer you get stuck in your mind, you're just disconnected from the true essence of why you're experiencing it in the first place. So it's a balance between both. I'm not saying to ignore psychology and ignore those things. They're very helpful. I study these things deeply. Carl Jung is one of my favorite psychoanalysts and psychiatrists, right? His work is incredible. So we don't ignore those things, but even him, he went deep into the depths of what it means to be a spiritual being at the soul level, like far beyond the mind, which is why his work was so powerful. So it's the same for us. These emotional triggers are the gateways, and that's it. I mean, if you really want to make things simple for yourself, look at your emotional triggers throughout the day. Where are you being reactive or pulled out of your center? And what choice can you make that's different? So that you're smiling first and not waiting for the mirror to smile at you, because that will never happen. The world around you will simply just reflect your emotional state. And these triggers, in the moment of them coming up, are the gateway into shifting that. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you in the next one.